why don't you tell us about a little bit about LAFCO and then something about what's going on with the sanitary districts in southern Marin.
Okay. LAFCOs were set up in the 60s when growth in California was spreading out over the landscape quite extensively. Orchards, the concern was especially with the conversion of agricultural lands and the expansion of urban services across the landscape in a very unregulated way. And so the governor and the legislature set up a blue ribbon committee and decided that the best way to do that, to regulate this situation, is to set up a LAFCO in each county in California to regulate boundary changes and organizational changes among cities and special districts, and to make regulatory decisions about what agency was going to provide what services to what geographic area within each county. And so they did that. We've been in business since 1963. There are two basic things that LAFCOs do. One is a planning function in which my commission, which is appointed, I'll get to that in a minute, the commission adopts boundary plans for each city and special districts, each special district in the county, that determines sort of what areas are eligible for annexation. How rapidly or how far will the boundaries of an agency expand? But that also includes when those agencies overlap each other, when a special district overlaps a city, what exactly are their relationships going to be? Which one of them is going to provide water service, for example? So we make decisions like that, everything from a simple annexation to a sanitary district to the incorporation of a new city, which we don't expect to see in Marin County, but it is possible. I suppose Marin City and Strawberry would be remote possibilities in the future. The other thing that we do is that we respond to and make decisions on proposals to actually change those boundaries. So the first thing we look at is if someone wants to annex territory to a city, whether their proposed annexation is consistent with the plan that we have adopted. And there are a lot of other things that go into that decision as well, but those are the two basic things that we do.
When San Rafael was talking about the St. Vincent's parcel, how did LAFCO fit into that discussion?
Well, for years, San Rafael expected to be responsible for providing services to that area, made plans accordingly, and so forth. And at some point a few years ago, I guess it became obvious to the city that they could not successfully do that they could not successfully carry through the annexation of that territory to make it part of the city and actually provide those services. And so they made a strategic decision, I think, to just back off from that. They requested that LAFCO amend the boundary plan for the city to exclude that area.
Okay.
And that's eventually what we did.
Okay. Well, then now you get involved in those sanitary districts in southern Marin that they've hit the newspaper recently because of spills.
Yes, indeed.
Could you sort of tell us what's going on with them?
Well, the spills are just sort of the latest events that have caused everybody to sort of take a closer look there. But we've been looking there sort of periodically at how those agencies are organized for a number of years. And 3 years ago, we were engaged in a fairly serious study of how that service is provided in that area. We're talking about the area from Sausalito through Marin City, Mill Valley, Tiburon Peninsula, and Belvedere, and the unincorporated areas between there. And in the case of southern Marin, you have this confined geographic area of about between 50 and 60,000 people, the size of San Rafael or Novato, roughly. But there are 10 different agencies that provide sewer service in one way or another, 50 elected officials responsible for it, and 3 distinct sewer service systems within that area. And so, our very broad conclusion is you don't need all that governmental horsepower to provide that service, especially a service that people try not to know too much about. And so when the spills occur, people all of a sudden are paying attention. the districts in the city that provides that service are all of a sudden a little on the defensive. And you see the great spectacle of the Independent Journal on their front page trying to explain how these 10 different agencies do their thing in Southern Marin. Who's responsible for what? And the IJ actually did a very good job, but I don't think the information penetrated the intelligence of the average voter. It's very difficult to comprehend.
Well, go ahead.
All these little school districts in Marin County, and they all have a superintendent and everything. Do you have any responsibility for talking to the school districts about shared administration?
We do not. You'll notice that my wrists are attacked in vain anytime soon. But no, LAFCOs have no responsibility for school district boundaries and organization. We do send them referrals on boundary changes and whatnot, just so that they know what's going on with municipal boundaries especially.
On the sanitary districts, it seems to me that all those residents of those individual districts probably don't want to have their boards disappear, because it would make them feel like they didn't have power over their own little sanitary district anymore.
It's the local control issue.
It's the local control issue.
Yes, that often comes up. That is often what we hear, but it's really kind of illusory. In the first place, many of those 10 different special districts, 10 different agencies that provide sewer, only provide collection service. In other words, they're responsible for the sewer pipes in the ground, taking the sewage away from your house, but they are not involved in providing the treatment services at the treatment plant. They don't operate the plant. Someone else does that.
I see.
And so if you look at one of the 3 systems in Southern Marin, the Sewerage Agency of Southern Marin, SASM. SASM is a joint powers agency that has 6 members. It's essentially a contract between the city of Mill Valley and 5 different special service districts around Mill Valley. And
so they each have a representative.
Yes, they each appoint a representative to the SASM board that controls what happens at the plant.
So the individual residents really don't have as much power.
They have no power directly over SASM, but for example, with the spills, if you're reading the IJ and you're outraged that there's been a discharge of however many million gallons of sewage in Southern Marin, there is no way that any individual in Southern Marin can vote to throw the rascals out. The most that they can do is to vote for 2 or 3 members of one of the sanitary district boards that does not control SASM, that controls only a fraction of the collection system that feeds into SASM.
Do people serve on those boards for decades?
In some instances, there have been members that have served for a very long time, yes.
Well, we'll keep following this.